And the next one is personality theories. Though this is not there in your syllabus, sometimes questions are being asked from this particular area. And it is very important that you may understand at least one theory of personality in order to have a taste of the personality theories. So I would like to explain psychoanalytic theory of personality development by the very popular psychologist called Sigmund Freud. In the introductory session, we had mentioned that Sigmund Freud is considered as the father of modern psychology, and he has proposed this psychoanalytic theory or psychodynamics of personality. Let's see the basic concepts of this psychoanalytic theory proposed by Sigmund Freud. And this psychoanalytic theory of Freud is based on the notion that man is motivated more by unseen forces rather than he is controlled by conscious and rational thought. The words may find difficult for you, but I shall explain these points. So this is based on the notion or assumption that man is motivated more by unseen forces. So Freud says an individual, a human being is motivated more by unseen forces. There are so many unseen forces within us. Those unseen forces motivate a human being than conscious and rational thought. So that is a basic assumption. I shall repeat. The psychoanalytic theory is based on the assumption that man is motivated. When we say man, it refers to woman also. It says human being is motivated more by unseen forces than he is controlled by conscious and rational thought. And the dimensions of personality. So there are three dimensions according to Freud. The first one is id, ego and superego. Let's see each one in detail. And the id is a source of psychic energy that seeks immediate gratification for biological or instinctual needs. That is what it is. It is a source of psychic energy. It gives us some mental energy. It acts as a source of mental energy, and that seeks immediate gratification. Gratification means satisfaction. Seeks means it searches. So this id is a source of energy, and that source of energy searches for immediate fulfillment for biological or instinctual needs. So there are certain biological needs we have within us. For example, we have need for food. It's a biological need. Sex is a biological need. So this id acts as a source of energy that seeks immediate fulfillment for biological or instinctual needs. There are certain instincts that comes from within, and it seeks or it searches for immediate fulfillment of such biological or instinctual needs. So such a source of psychic energy is called id. And when we talk about instincts, there are two instincts, life instinct and death instinct. And according to Freud, life instincts are hunger, thirst and sex. See, hunger and thirst normally results in taking food and water, and that nourishes our body. Suppose we don't feel hunger, we don't have hunger or we don't have thirst, naturally our body will be destroyed. And similarly sex also, it is due to the instinct of sex that we procreate. We are motivated to engage in sexual activities because of the life instinct. Suppose we are not motivated to have sexual feelings or sexual actions, see, the human species might be destroyed. No more offsprings, new generation won't be created. So it is a life instinct. And there is an energy involved in this kind of life instinct is called libido. Energy involved in the activity is called libido. We have an energy that is called libido. And death instinct is aggression. As life instinct, we have a death instinct also. And aggression that prompts us to fight with another person, another individual. And that fighting actually results in death. That is not contributing for the betterment of the human species. Rather, it results in death of an individual. So that is a death instinct. Aggression is a death instinct, and hunger, thirst and sex are life instincts. And it works on pleasure principle. That should be understood thoroughly. It always works on pleasure principle. That means the concern of it is my pleasure. For example, when I am motivated by the death instinct, I fight with another person, and that fighting gives me a pleasure. I enjoy out of that fight. See, you just observe the children fighting each other as a game. They enjoy out of the fight. In the same way, when an individual is sexually motivated, he tries to fulfill his pleasure principle. He wants to enjoy pleasure, get pleasure. So it is always working on pleasure principle. And this it is present at birth. All of us have an id within us, and that is present at birth, and that seeks only the immediate gratification for biological or instinctual needs, and that works on pleasure principle. So I have an id within me that says you have to think about your pleasure only. Don't think about others. You engage in activities that gives you pleasure. Ignore others. Never think about the consequence of your action on them. Rather, you just be bothered about your pleasure. So that is what we mean by the id. All of us have such a dimension of personality within us. And the next one is the ego. Ego is a conscious and logical part of personality. It's conscious, it is aware, and it is logical also. And ego works on reality principle. Contrary to the it which was working on pleasure principle, ego works on reality principle. And the ego keeps the id in check through the realities of the external environment, through intellect and reason. I shall explain it further. That is, it controls the id. It tries to control the id. That is what we mean by keeps the id in check. How it controls the id? Through the realities of the external environment. And through intellect and reason. Because it is conscious and logical, it understands the realities of the external environment and it controls the id. For example, suppose when I feel very angry towards another person, my id within me tells me to attack him physically. That is the opinion or advice of the id. But I have an ego also within me. That ego says, don't go for attacking the person because he is more powerful than you. If you try to attack him now, he may retaliate, he may fight back, and that will endanger you. So don't go for physical attack now. See, my id is blocked, controlled, kept in check through the realities of external environment. The ego understands that the other person is more physically fit than you, is stronger than you. So fighting with someone who is stronger may not be good for you. So that is what the ego says. It keeps it in check. And we have another dimension of personality which is called the superego. And superego is the moral teacher. Moral teacher. And the superego represents social and personal norms and serves as an ethical constraint on behavior. So moral teacher or the superego represents social and personal norms, the value system we have. I may have my own personal value system. Surely there is a social value system also. And that value system or norms serves as an ethical constraint, ethical limiting factor on behavior. For example, take the previous example we have discussed of that fight. So the id said, you attack that person. But the egos told me, don't go for attacking him because he is more stronger than you. And the superego tells me, see, it is not good to have fight with anyone. It is not good. You are not expected to have a fight in public. So that is the advice of my superego. And how that thinking emerged within me. That may be from my value system. Maybe I acquired through my religious teachings. Or maybe the value I acquired from my family. There may be different sources. That's what we say. It represents social and personal norms. And that serves as an ethical constraint, as a limiting factor on behavior. That moral teacher, superego, restricts or controls our behavior. See the three dimensions: id, ego, superego. And superego works on moral principles. And that superego provides norms to ego to determine what is wrong or right. My superego always tells ego, this is right. So you proceed in that direction. Or it may say, that is wrong. You should not proceed in that direction. So always it provides norms, directions to ego to determine what is wrong or right. So there are three personality dimensions within me. We can say three individuals within an individual. The id, the ego, the superego. So there are so many examples we can think about where we are influenced by id, ego and superego. For example, you think that your juniors are coming. Naturally, you expect respect from them. So, assume that you go to the first year class and a junior student is not giving due respect to you. Then, what will be the advice of id? It will say to you, what will be the advice? It will say, whatever you do, whatever you want to do to him. You may rag him. Then he may respect you. So that is what it may say. And in the other side, the opposite side, there is a superego, a moral teacher within you. And that moral teacher may be advising you not to do like that. Suppose if your moral teacher is properly developed, that moral teacher may tell you that ragging is not good. It is an encroachment into the freedom of another individual. That is against your value system. It's not good, it's bad. So a moral teacher may be prompting within you about the negative side of ragging. And always, surely there is an ego also. Ego is conscious and logical, and that works on reality principle. Always there is a fight between id and superego, and the ego is trying to keep a balance between the id and the superego. The ego may say to you not to physically harm the person. Rather, you may lightly ask some questions and leave the person. Don't physically attack the person, because going for a physical attack may invite strict actions, maybe even sometimes actions by the police and by the college authorities and by the government, etc. Even you may be punished. So never go for such kind of physical attack. Rather, you may slightly make the person respect you as a senior student. See, there was a fight between id and superego, and ego is trying to keep a balance based on the realities of the external environment. So that is three dimensions: id, ego and superego. So this is the same in the case of sexual feeling, sexual attraction also. See, you think about a situation where a man rapes a woman. Under which dimension the person is acting, going for a rape? Surely it is under the influence of id. So there is an animalistic dimension within us, that is id. It is animalistic. If the superego is properly developed, then there may be another voice from within you that may prevent you from raping a girl. It is not good. It is sin. It is bad. There may be such a voice within you. And surely there is an ego. So it says, I want pleasure. And I may have pleasure by raping that girl. That is what it wants. But superego says it is wrong, it is sin, it is not good. So the ego tries to keep a balance between these two. Ego may say, you may do some verbal abuse and enjoy. You may make some comments on that person. You may verbally enjoy, because going for a physical assault may put you under trouble. So always there is a balancing act by the ego. So it one side, superego on the other side, and in between ego tries to keep a balance, working on reality principles. So this is id, ego and superego. And the next one is personality development according to Freud. According to Freud, personality develops as a result of interactions of four main sources of stress. So there are four sources of stress within us, and as a result of interaction of these four sources of stress, our personality develops. And these sources of stress are physical growth process, frustration, conflicts, and threats. So physical growth process. As a child grows, there are certain physical growth process taking place, and that gives some stress to the child also, baby also. So physical growth process, some certain frustrations are there. There are certain conflicts within an individual, and there are certain threats. So all these four acts as the main source of stress. And according to Freud, personality develops through various stages, and that is associated to different organs of the body or parts of the body. And surely that is related to physical growth of a person also. And the first stage is oral stage. Oral stage. And this stage is spread from birth to 18 months. Birth to 18 is 1.5 years. And there are two parts or through sub-stages for this particular oral stage. The first one is oral sucking, and the second one is oral biting. Let's see the oral sucking. So you have to understand that here the body part or the organ is the mouth of the child. In oral sucking, that is spread from birth to 8 months, and during that period the child satisfies the sexual instinct by sucking. You know what is meaning of the word sucking? The child satisfies the sexual instinct by sucking. So it is through sucking that the child gets milk from the breasts of the mother, and the child is, Freud says, it's not that I say, Freud says the child is actually satisfying its sexual instinct by sucking. It enjoys pleasure by sucking the breasts of the mother. So that is called oral sucking. And the child is driven by pleasure principle. So you have to understand, The pleasure principle is the principle of id. So the child is under id. So oral sucking. And the second one is oral biting. And that is from 8 months to 18 months. 6 months to 1.5 years old. So the biting. So here the child enjoys in biting, sucking and feels pleasure. So if you observe the babies or children, we know that during this period the child tries to bite others and it enjoys out of biting. So that stage is called oral biting, oral sucking and oral biting. And the second stage is called anal stage. And if you don't understand the meaning of this, you may refer to some dictionary for this particular word, anal. And this is another body part, and that part is called anus. Anus is an opening within our body through which we expel the solid waste from our body. And that stage is called anal stage. And it is from 18 months to 3 years. 1.5 years to 3 years. That is the period of this anal stage. And here the child satisfies his sexual instinct by releasing urine and feces. So in this stage, the child is trying to satisfy his or her sexual instinct by releasing urine. Very frequently they may urinate. And by urinating, the child is enjoying or satisfying its sexual instinct. And in the same way, the solid waste from the body. So, through releasing the solid waste, the child is satisfying its sexual instinct. And during this stage, the ego is developed. It is present at birth, we had seen earlier. But the ego is developed during this period, anal stage, 18 months to 3 years of time. And during this stage, the child understands that he or she is from a particular sex. See, a boy may understand that he is a boy, or a girl may understand that she is a girl. So that's what we mean by the child understands that he or she is from a particular sex. And during this period, the child understands the social value of toilet control. Until now, the child was free to urinate or release solid waste from the body as and when he or she likes. But during this period, during the anal stage, the child understands the social value of toilet control. And the third stage is called the phallic stage. So you have to understand the body part or organ of each stage associated to each stage. In oral stage it was mouth, and in anal stage it was anus, and in the third stage called a phallic stage, it is the sex organs of the child. And this period extends from 3 to 7 years. 3 to 7 years. And the child learns to discriminate genitals. So previously during the anal stage we saw that the child understands that he or she is from a particular sex. But during this phallic stage, the child learns to discriminate genitals. By looking at the genitals, the sex organs of another child, the child learns that he or she is a male or female. So discriminate genitals. The child sees the difference in his brothers and sisters or other children. And here the sexual instinct is satisfied by touching the sex organs. The child satisfies its sexual instinct by touching the sex organs. And the child is prone to develop many complexes during this stage, such as Oedipus complex, Electra complex, castration complex, penis envy, etc. So Freud says during this stage, during the phallic stage, which is from 3 to 7 years of time, the child is prone to develop many complexes. And some of the complexes are Oedipus complex. Oedipus complex means it is normally developed in boys. So Freud says boys may be sexually attracted to their mothers, and such an attachment. Surely every child has to undergo these kind of complexes. Sure, and we have to overcome such complexes. That is a healthy development. So every boy may be undergoing such a complex called Oedipus complex. And the opposite is Electra complex. Normally that is for girls. They may have some kind of attraction. And Freud says those attractions are sexual attractions towards their fathers. And the castration complex, surely that is another complex being developed in boys. Castration, the meaning of the word castration is, it is a process of removal of the testicles of a male. And testicles is the male gland, we know. And that gland produces hormones that makes a boy or transforms a boy into a man. And castration is the process of removing those testicles. So Freud says every boy may be frightened about whether his testicles will be removed. So that is called a castration complex. And the other one is penis envy. And we know penis is a male sex organ. The organ used to pass urine, that's called, that organ is called the penis. And Freud said girls have an envy towards the penis of boys. They may have a feeling that they lack something that boys have. That is called penis envy. So these are contributions or teachings or concepts of Freud. So during this phallic stage, the child has a tendency to develop many complexes such as Oedipus and Electra complexes, castration complex, and penis envy. And the fourth one is latency stage. And this is spread from 7 to 12 years of age. And during this stage, the child's sexual instincts are usually at sleep. Sexual instincts are at rest. It is not very active. And outwardly interests of the child grow. What does it mean by outwardly? He goes out of him. He enjoys playing and talking with his friends. We know that during this stage, friends are very important part of a child's life. So he or she enjoys playing and talking with his friends. And the fifth and the last stage is called genital stage. Genital stage. And this is spread from 12 to 20 years. and most of you may be in this particular stage called genital stage, and here a person is engaging in mature relationships and the sexual drives are active. So these are the 5 stages according to Sigmund Freud in his concept of personality development. And the first stage was oral stage, where mouth is a gratifying organ and there is oral sucking and oral biting. And the second stage is called anal stage, where anus becomes a gratifying organ. And the third stage is called a phallic stage, where sex organs becomes the gratifying organ. And the fourth stage is called a latency stage, where the outward interest of a child grows and he or she enjoys playing and talking with his friends. And the last stage is called genital stage, which is spread from 12 to 20 years. And during this stage, a person is engaging in mature relationships, and sexual drives are very active during the stage also. That's all about personality development according to Sigmund Freud, and the theory is called psychodynamics or psychoanalytics. Thank you.